So how the Egyptologists and scholars study and how do they get information about ancient Egypt, and how much is it actually still? Well, there are many books written in modern era, and then there are old books written in ancient times, because ancient Egypt was actually so old, so already ancient Greeks, they started to write and discover ancient Egypt. So the first one we mentioned already is Manethos Egyptica, which is the first book ever but written in Greek about ancient Egypt. And then there are a lot of like opposing information and discrepancies, not really like based on some evidence. So that's why a lot of Egyptologists, they actually oppose this. But then there are other books, and there are many pyramid texts and coffin texts. And these pyramid texts are the actually oldest ancient Egyptian funerary texts dating to the late Old Kingdom. They are the earliest known corpus of ancient Egyptian religious texts written in Old Egyptian. The pyramid texts were carved onto the subterranean walls and sarcophagi of pyramids at Saqqara from the end of the 5th dynasty throughout the 6th dynasty of the Old Kingdom into the 8th dynasty of the first intermediate period. The oldest of these texts have been dated circa 2400 to 2300 BCE. And then we have coffin texts. Coffin texts are in coffins inside, and they are illustrated, more colorful, painted. Then there are actually books of dead. They can be found also in tombs or somewhere around coffins. And they were usually, these pyramid texts, reserved only for the pharaohs and were not illustrated. So coffin texts are a little bit different. Also, they were somehow changed during the Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom, but still they existed. Then we have basically another source, which is papyri. There are many texts, just like articles, letters, let's say, on the papyrus, and they have different names based on where they are placed, where they are deposited, or who actually discovered such a papyrus. For instance, Abusir papyri, or Moscow mathematical papyrus, or Berlin papyrus, and then mention Westkar papyrus. Westkar papyrus is in Berlin, and it's interesting because Westkar papyrus actually is ancient Egyptian text containing 5 stories about miracles performed by priests and magicians. It's from Old Kingdom, from the 4th dynasty, and it's actually told to King Khufu by his sons. And the whole story is a little bit legendary, magical, but it's interesting papyrus. Then there are actually a lot of king lists, and we have Turin king list, Abydos king list, Saqqara tablet or Saqqara king list. They usually have to actually compare these king lists to understand the chronology and exactly how and what were the names of the kings, how we are actually doing it chronologically. It's really the whole study of this king list, but there are many more kings lists. That's not only Abydos and Saqqara and Turin, but for instance also different canons, Ramesseum canon or Marseille offering table, or there are many actually even canons just or tables like Karnak or Abydos table, Royal Annals. We mentioned Royal Annals, also another text containing 26 kings. Then a table of Kenwerships of Seth, or different, for instance, even just these obelisks or pyramids or temples, and they contain a lot of texts. And then there are actually ancient historians who first studied actually ancient Egypt, ancient Egyptology: Herodotus, Manetho, Africanus, Eusebius, Josephus, Diodorus, San Jerome, Eratosthenes, and Cincelus. They were really like historians who really started to study and studied ancient Egypt. So there are many actually still maybe undiscovered or not really well read and well deeply investigated texts, but the problem is that sometimes they are opposing each other, they are controversial, or there are not enough evidence to actually say, okay, this king list and this is perfect one. So we can actually say that monuments and the inscriptions in a temple or tomb, that's actually source. Annals, inscriptions of events on a year-by-year basis, usually these royal annals or something like this, and archives, records on papyri, on papyrus concerning earlier rulers. So all of this actually you can study deeply and then find out and compare the information. So it's tedious, it's a really long-term work, and Egyptology will have a lot of work next millennium.